Hi, welcome to today's 4-Minute Mark. We are in Mark chapter 9 and we're going to start at verse 2. But let me remind you that in verse 1, Jesus said that some who were standing there would not taste death until they see the kingdom of God come with power. What was Jesus talking about? Well, the gospel account goes right into the transfiguration. I believe that's what he was talking about when the disciples saw him in his glory. So let's read about the transfiguration. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain where they were all alone. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Then a cloud appeared and enveloped them, and a voice came from the cloud, "This is my son, whom I love. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus gave them orders not to tell anyone what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept the matter to themselves, discussing what rising from the dead meant. And they asked him, "Why do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah does come first and restores all things. Why then is it written that the Son of Man must suffer much and be rejected? But I tell you, Elijah has come, and they have done to him everything they wished, just as it is written about him." Some Bible scholars believe that the mountain that Jesus was transfigured on was Mount Hermon. They say this because the disciples and Jesus were in the region of Caesarea Philippi at this time. If that is true, Mount Hermon, according to Jewish tradition, was the entrance to the realm of the dead. Also, according to Jewish tradition, it was the place where the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6 started their rebellion against God. So it was sort of the gates of hell, if you will. And remember, Jesus had said to Peter that the gates of hell will not prevail against the gospel. So Jesus is waging an assault on the gates of hell. This mountain was also thought to be the place where Zeus dwelled. Not Mount Olympus, but a place where Zeus would dwell would be this mountain. So Jesus is marching up the mountain, if these scholars are correct, marching up to the gates of hell, the gates of a foreign god, the gates of the dead, the gates of the rebellious spirits, marching right up to them and, in a sense, thumbing his nose at them, saying, "I am who I am, and you cannot stop me." The gates of hell could not stop Jesus. Now again, this is what some scholars believe about that mountain, and I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was cool. And if it is indeed the Mount of Transfiguration, the Bible doesn't tell us where the mountain was, okay? But if it is indeed the Mount of Transfiguration, it is pretty cool. So Jesus and Peter, James, and John go up to the mountain. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. God, of course, is pure, and white is the color of purity. In other accounts, Jesus glows bright, and brightness and light is associated with God in the Old Testament as well. So we are having Jesus here showing the disciples who he really was, if you will, the glorified Christ, the God of the universe, pure white, pure light. He's glowing before them, and we'll pick it up tomorrow. Bye-bye.